So, true or false? You ready?
Yep.
Now, if I'm going to get an apartment, the apartment complex is probably going to require me to put down more money on the security deposit if my credit score is lower.
True.
Okay. Now, if I'm going to get a car, if my credit score is lower, is my car payment going to be higher?
True.
Okay. So then that must mean that if I'm going to buy a house, the amount of money that I have to put down on the house is going to be higher because my credit score is lower.
False.
What do you mean false?
It depends.
It depends on what?
Depends on the loan you get.
Can you explain that more?
Well, that's your job. I'm not.
So, believe it or not, there is a common misconception that if your credit score is lower, you will need more money. And in this video, I am going to break that belief. Before we get started, shout out to my guy, Mike, who asked me to give some clarity on the difference between conventional, FHA, and VA loans, which are our primary three loans that most people go after when they're purchasing a home. So shout out to him. He is a phenomenal fitness brand. Link is right here for you guys. Go check him out. Now, let's get back to business. There's three primary loans. There's multiple loans that are available, but three primary loans that individuals are familiar with when they're going to buy a house. And I promise I'm going to tie all of this in as to why having a lower credit score could actually allow your house to be cheaper. And this is how we're going to do it. I am going to give you the who it's for, the why it rocks, and finally, the why it rocks, not so much. So basically the pros and cons. Stay with me, folks. All right, so let's start it. Conventional loan. Who is it for? Conventional loans are for everybody with a down payment of 3% if you are a first-time home buyer, or 5% if this is not your first property, not to include a property that you are going to be renting out that is considered an investment property. That's a whole nother thing in and of itself. The max amount that a conventional loan will qualify for is $766,550,000. Now, what does that actually mean? That means if you go above that number, it then either becomes a jumbo loan or your requirement to make up the difference. Why do conventional loans rock? When you hear conventional, think convenient. Conventional, convenient. Conventional, convenient. All right, I'm done. Conventional loans are actually convenient to the sellers because when it comes to the inspection, you know, that little thing where you gotta check out the house, conventional loan standards aren't as strict, or the property conditions don't have to be as up to par as an FHA or a VA loan. Another reason why conventional loans rock is because after you have gained 22% equity in your home, the PMI, aka private mortgage insurance, will automatically fall off of your payment, making your payment lower. Now, let's talk about the why it rocks not so much. As mentioned before, conventional loans are a bit harder to qualify for because you have to have a higher credit score typically, as well as a lower debt to income. And your debt to income is simply how much debt, bills, liabilities you have in comparison to how much income you're actually bringing in on a yearly basis. It's one of the other reasons why it rocks not so much. And then contrary to popular belief, conventional loans, the interest rate tends to be higher than compared to FHA loans and VA loans. So that was conventional loans. So what did we say? Conventional, convenient. Conventional, convenient. Okay, hey, what's going on? Sorry guys, I know I hate interruptions too, but this was absolutely essential that I get this out of my system. I just want to say first and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time out to watch my video. There are a million and one other things that you could be doing, like petting a dog if you have one or whatever the case is, but the fact that you've taken the time out of your day to watch my content really does mean the most to me. So first and foremost, thank you so much for that. The other thing too is that I wanted to let you know that I am based in Tampa, and if you or anyone you know is looking to either buy, sell, or invest in real estate in the Tampa area, which is one of the fastest growing markets since COVID in the state of Florida, I am more than happy to help. So if that is the case, please feel free to shoot me an email at alicia.westrealtor@gmail.com. You can also find my socials at Alicia West Speaks on Instagram, and that's really all you need. And I promise I'm gonna let you get back to your video. Thank you so much for allowing me to take the time out to stop it, and I'm gonna let you guys get back to play. Now, let's talk about FHA loans. FHA stands for First Home, I'm just kidding. FHA stands for Federal Housing Administration. The down payment on the FHA loan is 3.5. When? All the time, every time. Unless, let's not get confusing. We'll handle that on another video. The maximum purchase price on a FHA loan is going to be $498,257,000. Anything above that, it's not going to go FHA. It's either going to go conventional, jumbo, or whatever the options are. But $498,257,000 is the max that you can get funded for via FHA. Who's it for? Everybody can get this smoke. Okay, sorry. FHA loans are for everybody. Oftentimes, they are being reported as first-time homebuyer loans, but you don't have to be a first-time homebuyer to be able to qualify for this loan. Fun fact, if you have not owned a property within your name in the past 3 years, you are deemed as a first-time homebuyer, meaning that if you bought a property before with an FHA loan and then sold it and it's been 3 years and you go to purchase again, you are now deemed as a new first-time home buyer. So you can do it multiple times. Why do FHA loans rock? When you think of FHA, I want you to think of forgiving, because you can have a lower credit score and still be able to qualify, as well as have a higher debt to income. Now, obviously, you can't be spending 100% of the income that you're making, because nobody's gonna work with you. Not even, just nobody when it's all said and done. But if you have a higher debt to income and a lower credit score, lower, not lowest, let's gain some clarity there, they will still work with you. FHA forgiving. FHA forgiving. All right, beautiful. I'm gonna do a dance because I figured you'll remember my dance more than me just talking. On the other side of that, once again, contrary to popular belief, just because FHA loans are often picked by individuals who carry a lower credit score, it doesn't mean that your payment's going to be higher. What? You mean to tell me that if I have a lower credit score, that my payment doesn't automatically shoot to the moon and the stars because they want to punish me for not already having enough money to be able to take care of the bills that I have to begin with? This is true. This is true. With the FHA loan, even if your credit is a little bit lower, you are going to have a lower interest rate in comparison to a conventional loan. I will tie this all up in a beautiful little box for you at the end. Don't worry, just stay with me. What else is amazing about FHA loans? FHA loans are also amazing because they are government backed. Yeah. And the worst words that you could hear is we're here with the government and we're here to help. But in this case, it's a good thing. Yes, 100%. FHA loans are backed by the government, meaning that if they go into default, the government will step in and make up for it. Now, your credit will still be ruined, and so will your profile. So I do not advise it. Make your payments on time. Be an adult. Let's adult the right way, ladies and gentlemen. But yes, if your loan does go into default, the government will back it, meaning that is chef's kiss beautiful language for the lenders. Now, obviously FHA rocks, but why does it rock not so much? Because on the opposite side of it being convenient for the conventional loan when it comes to the inspection, FHA inspections hold the properties to a higher standard. For example, if there is a particular leak in the house, we don't like leaks at all, but under an FHA loan, the leak has to be fixed before the property can be closed upon, versus in a conventional loan, it would be convenient to the seller because that leak doesn't necessarily have to be fixed. They can go into negotiations in the contract to figure out a payment, so the seller doesn't have to be bothered. Does that make sense? I really, really hope it does. If it doesn't, don't worry. Let me know. I'll make another video about it. Why else does FHA not rock so much? FHA loans do also require a 1.75 upfront insurance premium. Now, what does that mean? For simplistic terms, if you have a loan that you're cleared for $100,000, you multiply that by 1.75, that's going to be $1,750 that you are accountable for on the front end. We've gone over conventional, which was convenient, FHA, which is forgiving, and now let's talk about VA. And when you hear VA, I want you to think better, because if you're not a veteran, you're not getting a VA loan. Sucks to suck. You could join the army. Do whatever you gotta do. I don't know. I don't have a VA loan. I wish I did, but I don't. Okay. The max funding that you can get for a VA loan is going to be $3 million. I don't know what y'all are doing in the military to be able to finance a $3 million house, but more power to you. The VA loan is willing to fund you up to $3 million. You got it. Now, VA loan, who's it for? I literally just told you, you gotta pay attention, okay? VA loans are for our veterans. And if there's any veterans watching right now, thank you so much for your service. Really, really appreciate it. You guys are the bestest. Why does the VA loan rock? I mean, so many reasons. For one, there is no debt to income max. What does that mean? There's literally no debt to income max. Obviously, I don't feel like it will work out if you're at 100%, but my lender personally has seen files get approved to where they're 72% debt to income, meaning 72% of their income was consumed by debt, and they were still able to get approved. That would never happen with conventional or FHA. So there's that, on top of the fact that there is zero down payment, which is, if you're familiar with the VA loan, you've heard time and time again. We could end the video here. There's zero down payment when you have a VA loan, or when you're using a VA loan, however you want to put it, on top of the fact that there is no mortgage insurance on these loans, on top of the fact that these two are also government backed, meaning if they go into default, the government will step in, and that means that lenders love them. They love them because it's less of a liability. And it wouldn't make sense if they weren't government backed, because military personnel are literally part of the government. But yeah, it's 2024. We don't know what's going on. And the interest rates on the VA loans are the best interest rates that you are going to find, because our military is the best. And you could argue with me, but I'm not here for that. With all those great benefits, how could a VA loan not rock? Well, let's talk about it. First of all, there is what's called a funding fee that is required on most VA loans. And the funding fee is going to be anywhere from 0 to 3.3% of the purchase price of the home. Now, where you would fall into that range, you would have to speak to your lender. I'm not well versed in that realm, but you should get cool with your lender so that way you know your numbers. Now, on top of that, the property conditions are being held to a higher standard, literally the same as an FHA. So it's not as convenient for the seller because they would have to fix it rather than trying to negotiate in the contract. On top of it being just a pinch harder when it comes to inspection, there is what's called a mandatory termite inspection, because we don't need our military brothers and sisters getting ate up by termites, because that's wild behavior. And finally, there's also the reality that it is only for military personnel. So if you didn't serve, we don't care about you. I mean, not the VA loan people don't care about you. I care 1,000%. I'm sure you've made some contributions in your own way. You just didn't serve, and it is what it is. Now, so we've covered the three. Now let's tie this up in a beautiful little bow, as I mentioned I would. Now, first of all, conventional, but it doesn't matter because conventional is convenient. What are the perks there? 3% down if you're a first-time home buyer, or 5% down. Why does it rock? Essentially speaking, it's convenient for the sellers. There's more room for negotiation. Why does it rock? Not so much because the interest rate is higher and it's harder to qualify for. FHA forgiving. Why does it rock? Because you can get approved with a lower credit score and a higher debt to income. And the interest rate in comparison to the conventional loan is lower, meaning that your payment will be lower because your interest rate is lower, which means, all right, I'll finish that up in a second. The VA loans, think VA veterans, VA veterans. If you didn't serve, we don't care. No, I'm just kidding, but I mean, you'll probably remember that because you're probably like, oh, I can't believe you said that. Whatever. Why do VA loans rock? Because they are government backed with no down payment and literally no mortgage insurance, which is beautiful. And they have the lowest interest rate of all three. Now, why do they not rock so much? Because of the funding fee, the conditions, as well as it's only for military personnel. Sorry about it. The last question that you may have is, but Alicia, how can my lower credit score actually make the house cheaper? Well, if you paid attention, which I'm sure you did because you're still here, the FHA loan, which is primarily for those who have a lower credit score, also has a lower interest rate. All right, so let's tie this all together, because I told you that your lower credit score could potentially allow your house to be cheaper. And I didn't lie. So before you guys start trying to like shoot shots, just don't, right? So reason why a lower credit score could very much make your house more affordable is because, remember, the conventional loans, you have to have a higher credit score to get cleared for that. And an FHA loan, you're going to be able to utilize a lower credit score. But contrary to popular belief, just because you have a higher credit score and you can get cleared for conventional loans, most people would think, oh, a conventional loan because I have a higher credit score is going to give me a lower payment. That is false, because with an FHA loan, even though you have a lower credit score, the FHA loan interest rates are lower, meaning that your payment is going to be lower and more affordable at the end of the day. Now, if you're more of a numbers person, let me put it into numbers for you. As of this day, which is November of 2024, the going rate, standardly speaking, for conventional in the state of Florida is 7.25. Now, the going rate for an FHA loan in the state of Florida is around 6.25. Now, those numbers will vary based off of credit and profile, but the FHA loan interest rate is going to be significantly lower than that of the conventional. So that is it. I have told you the truth. And that wraps up our video of the evening. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out. I hope that you learned something. If you didn't, that's your fault. No, I'm just totally kidding. But if you have any requests like Mike did, let me know. DM me, drop them in the comments. Let me know. I would love to give you information that you want to learn about. And outside of that, I will see you guys at the closing table.